What's up, everyone? Jim and Eric here to talk about some Rogue One, a Star Wars story character revelations, particularly this guy right here, Forest Whitaker, Oscar winner. We now know who he's playing. He is playing Saw Gerrera. Yep. Eric, tell the folks who the hell Saw Gerrera is and where they might know that name from.
He is from Star Wars The Clone Wars, which I am very excited about as a big Clone Wars fan. This is the first time we're getting a character from that show or any of the animated Star Wars making this big move into live action. Specifically, there was a 4-episode arc in season 5 about a sort of burgeoning rebel cell on this planet fighting against the separatists, against the battle droids. But there was this idea, this kernel, that this was a rebellion, these rebels fighting, and he was one of them. He was one of the leaders along with his sister. Now, is he,
do you think this is that planet in this movie?
That's a good question. I don't think necessarily. The thing about that character is he's gotten some name drops recently in other Star Wars stories that, again, are all canon. He was mentioned on an episode of Rebels, and he was mentioned in an episode, in the book Bloodline that recently came out. And both with the idea, and this was something established on Clone Wars, that he is kind of an extremist. On the Clone Wars, they used the word terrorist a lot about him. Ooh. It was actually a debate between Obi-Wan and Anakin about the tactics, not about him, but about these rebels, and were the tactics they were using sort of terrorist tactics. And it was Obi-Wan saying that he felt it was kind of terrorism, and Anakin saying, oh, they're rebels, like I believe in what they're doing. So obviously there's some interesting role reversal maybe by the time we get to Rogue One.
Well, now, we should point out too that Clone Wars is the only animated show that's canon, right?
Well, but anything before, we should say Disney, because Rebels is now canon too.
Yes.
But Clone Wars was the only thing that they declared was canon that was done, up before Disney bought them, where all the books and comics were declared not. Clone Wars, they said, no, this definitely all happened. The feature films happened, and Clone Wars, that was it. So again, it always existed out there, but we still never knew if they would, take a character like this that again was introduced, I think, 4 years ago on the show, and give him this move.
Well, and this is also a version of that character that is, decades older. So what do you think about, from what you know of that character from Clone Wars, what do you think is going on with him right now, and how that might influence Rogue One? Because he is one of the few characters that we hear speaking in that trailer.
Yeah, and I did go back and kind of watch the trailer again, and he's the one who gets the big sort of end of the trailer declaration about the what will you become, as we're seeing the her turning and wearing.
Will he be a rebel or a terrorist?
I think that will probably play into it, is the idea of maybe he has some regrets about things he's done along the way, especially now that I realize that they've been name dropping him in, like I said, Rebels in this book, and the idea that he's kind of crossed some lines maybe that others aren't comfortable with. But the fact that he says that in the trailer makes you think that he's not like, everything I've done is great, that maybe he feels like I've probably lost a bit of myself.
Now let's go blow up thousands of people in that Death Star.
Right. And maybe that is it. Maybe it is like, you have to be willing to make these decisions. It might be kind of the idea of it. And because I went back and I read my review of the first episode he's in, and I kind of talked about how, oh, this is interesting. They're kind of bringing up the morality and the what is the line between terrorist and rebel debate that Star Wars doesn't always get into, because Star Wars is sometimes very black and white.
It can also make you wonder too about the question of reshoots and tone, and make it feel more like a Star Wars movie. Maybe that stuff is a little too heavy and too dark for what the movies have generally been, which is a bit more of a fun ride. The animated shows have taken the show to taken that universe to a darker place, more adult kind of themes.
Which is ironic, because some people are like, it's a cartoon. But
exactly. Well, we should also point out, look, he's bald in that photo, he's bald in the trailer, but the Entertainment Weekly revelation with the new photo of him, he's got some Sam Jackson and Unbreakable sort of hair going on, and a fuller beard. So what do you make of that?
It is interesting
because
reshoots? With all the stories of reshoots, it's like, oh, are they reshooting everything with him, or does he have a like going back into action scene? You know,
I'm gonna have to shave my head.
It's time to shave my head and kick some ass. So I think it's more likely a variation of that. You know, if he's only in the movie with the shaved head, it would kind of speak to how extensive the reshoots are, which Disney is kind of downplaying. So I guess maybe the hair will tell, right? You know.
Well, Well, that's what we know right now of Saw Gerrera. We're going to be speaking a lot more about Rogue One in the days ahead. This whole Entertainment Weekly cover story finally revealing a lot of stuff about the movie. So, for all things Star Wars, keep it here on IGN.